Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I hope you're having an amazing day. We are here for Blockchain Talk. And so we are going to just talk about a few things today. We have a list. We're going to talk about Web3, NFTs, Metaverse, cryptocurrency, and of course, blockchain technology. And so today I have some amazing guests joining me. And this show is really about um, just having conversations and educating those of you who want to know more about it. And ICORBP, International Council of Registered Blockchain Professionals, what we do is look at the profession. So we like to highlight those who are in the industry and doing some amazing things. I am your host today, Dr. Tammy, success strategist, literacy educator, and I am the director of accreditation, certification, curriculum and instruction. I have several titles, several things that I do in ICORBP, International Council of Registered Blockchain Professionals. So right now, let's hear from our sponsors.
This blockchain continuing education program is brought to you by our major sponsors: HTML Coin, Utility Coin Beyond the Hype; Autash University, your online school in the fourth industrial revolution; Libra Codes, take control on your NFT creation; and Credence Hub, verified credentials, anytime, anywhere. We also would like to thank our partners.
Hello. So I have my guests with me, and I know, ladies, y'all are probably a little jealous right now. It's okay. But I have some amazing men with me today who's going to help facilitate and help me facilitate this conversation about our topic today. And so I don't know if Doc Vince, I know he's not, he's behind the scenes, but I don't know if we ever came up with a title. But today we're talking about blockchain technology and how all these buzzwords are connected. We're talking about blockchain technology, Web3, NFTs, um, Metaverse, all of them, cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about all of them today. And we're just going to give an introduction. We will go into all of these in depth in future episodes. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and put those notifications on. So you'll know when we're live, because we'll be coming back and talking about each one of these in the coming weeks, more in depth. And you may see some of these handsome gentlemen back with me for future episodes to go more in depth. So today we're just going to take a moment and just introduce some of the terms, talk about them on a surface level, because I really want them to talk about what they do in this space and share that with you. So that way, kind of can start thinking about how this may fit into what you're doing, how you can find your niche in this space. So we're going to go around the room and just introduce ourselves so you'll know who's here, who's having this conversation with me. And y'all, it's really going to be a conversation. Like I know I'm here as the host, but I'm just going to kind of keep it moving and make sure that, make sure you get to hear from everyone. So, but we're just going to have a conversation. So definitely put your comments in the chat. Make sure you communicate with us, because we will take pauses to address some of your questions if you have questions. All right. So what we're going to do is just go around the room and let you introduce yourself, who you are, briefly what you do. We'll talk a little more about it later, but just tell us who you are. And we'll start with you, Vince.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Tammy. And hello, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So I basically got into the crypto space in 2017. It was a nasty ride. And it was a nasty ride largely because I didn't know what was going on. There was just a lot of hype. And like an ignorant person, you sort of just sometimes dive in without really knowing what you're doing. So a lot of mistakes, a lot of hard lessons, expensive lessons were learned, but it still inspired me to look behind the curtain. What is this technology? Is it really disruptive? And the journey sort of started for me there, and it's just gotten better and better, and it's grabbed me deeper and deeper. Anyway, I joined HTML Coin in early 2018. So this is my 4th year in HTML Coin. And yeah, that's basically my introduction. I don't know how deep I should go into this.
That's good. That's good. That's a good start because we will talk about it later. And we're so glad that you talked about HTML Coin first because that's one of our sponsors. So, Doc Vince. Perfect. Perfect segue. Hey, Doc Vince, I love it. I'm in the middle. So let's go to James. Please introduce yourself. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me, guys? Hello, hello. Good morning, and actually, it's good evening in this side of the world. What's up, everyone? This is James. My name is James. I'm actually from the Philippines, and what I do, I actually am a full-time trader. I do trading on the side, and I do spot. I do for cryptocurrencies. So I actually trade spot trading and also leverage trading. And recently, I'm a manager for a gaming guild. If you've ever heard of those play to earn model games, so we manage a guild. I manage a guild. I'm part of this community called the Resistance Trader community. It's trading community at the same time. It's also a gaming guild, and that's it in a nutshell. Let's talk more about it as we go along. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Tammy.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you. All right, Sly. Who are you and what do you do?
I am many things. Okay, so hi guys. My name is Sly. So just some basic background. My former profession was that I was an IT specialist in areas such as network, servers, and security. I used to do hotel work, logistics, medical, things like that. A decade ago. I'm very old. I started. Doing my whole blockchain thing back in around 2011. I did the whole thing mining Bitcoin, but it was only until just recently, right around 2009, that I got really heavily involved into the technologies, not just so much just the mining aspect, but really involved in the technologies. Around 2009, I started with blockchains such as EOS, and through my career, I've worked for several cryptocurrency exchanges too, basically. So yeah, other than that, also a blockchain developer. I'm a trader. I do like smart contract and front end development, basically the whole Web3 stuff. Of course, I use Althash as one of my technologies that I use for blockchain. I do Ethereum, Polygon, AVAX, and recently I'm doing Solana blockchain. So yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
OMG. Okay. I'm taking notes as you're as y'all are talking. Got to get all this. All right. Thank you so much, Sly. Fred, will you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Okay. All right. So you took no time in zooming in on me. So my name is Fred Brandon. I am the executive director of Fred Brandon Flames Foundation. I am also an author, speaker, technologist, you name it. I've been in this space for over 5 years, but I've been in the tech space for a lot longer. I've done a little bit of everything, you name it, front end, security, things of that sort. But now I am looking to really focus on blockchain, cryptocurrency, Web3, and this is one of the focal points. Is what I'm really trying to do is educate, bring more knowledge to the space, whether it is to the youth or to companies and working with enterprise blockchain.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We keep losing Mark. I don't know. Mark is like elusive. Mark, are you there? Can you hear us? We can't see you, but can you hear us? We'll come back. Mark, he's on the go. It's all right. So what we'll do is we'll come back to Mark and we'll let him introduce himself in just a moment when his connection clears. So if you have not shared this video, make sure you share this video and, invite a few people in. Definitely say hello to us, tell us who you are and where you're joining us from. So gentlemen, so Mark, are you there? You're on mute. So let's try Doc Vincent. We can unmute him. Hello? No? Okay. We'll wait for sound. Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Will you introduce
great.
yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm glad to join you guys. So my name is Mark Tan with T Capital Coin. My background in crypto and blockchain is we provide research on different blockchain projects. We also have our own software, AI trade bot software for trading cryptocurrencies. And we have a pretty diverse service when it comes to blockchain crypto related investments as well as projects. So the big thing right now that we're working on are Metaverse and NFTs, and as well as setting up businesses that want to accept payment for crypto. So we really want to educate and then also mass adoption for crypto and blockchain technology in general. So just to give you like a general overview, but we can definitely get into more details when we have more time. But I'd say more of investing in crypto and research and blockchain.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's start talking about this. Let's start with what is blockchain technology? Anyone?
Okay, I'll take a stab at that. Well, actually, I wanted to give a sort of I don't know if it's an anecdote, but I was having a conversation with my wife the other evening. It was relating to a post we saw on social media, and it asked, if you could remove one thing from the world, what would it be? She said money, and I can understand that, but I would disagree and say greed. I mean, if you look at the great majority of all the problems we face in this world, a lot of it boils down to greed from various people, middlemen and third parties, people in power, where they're exploiting others and misusing trust. And because of that, this is where I've really come to love blockchain technology, because it goes a long way in mitigating the ability to exploit others in so many ways. Because blockchain is so good at authenticating data, it brings that trust into the space, and that's why it is a disruptive technology across the board in every industry. Wherever there's an element of trust, blockchain can authenticate data, and a lot of the time it eliminates the need for third parties and middlemen. It's not that all third parties are exploitative people, but I mean, by bringing blockchain into the picture and smart contracts, you eliminate a lot of human error and the ability to exploit others in so many ways. I'm not going to ramble on too much, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
In a nutshell. Anyone else have anything to add?
Well, I mean, if you're asking like what blockchain is, just, I mean, really short, blockchain is basically a type of database, and something that we tell our students, because I also teach in Altash University. While blockchain is amazing and it's a disruptive technology, some people think, oh, why don't we just replace all databases with blockchain? But it's not quite, doesn't quite work like that. And one of the things we do is we teach people the applications of blockchain, and it's not suited for every single database. And I use this analogy. If you think about a computer game that has different, like a role-playing computer game where there are different characters, you might have a melee grunt, you might have a ranged archer, you might have a sorcerer, flying units, etc., etc. Each one has its own advantages and disadvantages in different scenarios. And it's very important to recognize where blockchain as a database adds value in whatever part of the supply chain or wherever the application is. So yeah, blockchain is a database, and it's basically transparent, immutable, and decentralized. And with those three properties, it's revolutionary, and it's disrupting every industry across the world.
So I'm glad you mentioned that about it being disruptive in every industry. So it may do that too, but we're not going to get into that. So let's talk about some of those use cases. So what are some of those industries? How is it being used?
I think for the first one that we often think of is the financial aspect, but at the same time, it can range across a lot of other areas. Whether it's going to be in education, whether it's going to be in real estate, in supply chain, understanding where things are in the process. We have to understand that these companies that we're using on a constant basis, whether it's Starbucks, whether it's airlines or insurance companies, they are already starting to use blockchain technology in so many different ways to make sure that we have real time, like these data checks that Vince talked about, being able to make sure things are going correctly or being enforced with smart contracts. So there are so many different ways that blockchain technology can be used, and we're seeing it every day.
I see some head nods, so yes. Anyone else? Go for it.
Okay. I guess what we can say is, in terms of my perspective on things, and yes, there's already like a defined definition of what blockchain is, but for me, basically, it did a lot of things for me, especially when it comes to career growth. But to simplify, basically, it's just the idea that for me, blockchain technology provided an alternative means of lateral career movement, because I was, as I mentioned, that I was a former IT specialist. It also provided me an alternate means of income. So of course we have like, we know that Brandon mentioned something about investment tools. I also do cryptocurrency trading on the side, which I'm mostly a hodler now. I don't necessarily do day trading as much as I used to, but it's an additional source of income for me. And the last thing is that in terms of business models, what we're looking at is when we look, I see cryptocurrencies nowadays more for the advertising aspect. So if we can, if you are, let's say, part of a marketing team or have some knowledge in marketing, what I'm noticing that in cryptos, marketing is very, very huge in the space, in the cryptocurrency or blockchain space. So when we look at business models, I'm noticing what we see that we've already done already in terms of the retail space. It can also be done in cryptocurrencies, DeFi, things like that. So it's more of like two different worlds. So it's more like an alternative, really. We can take the knowledge that we learned in one market or one type of business sector and actually apply it into cryptos. So yeah, that's the way I see it.
Go ahead, James.
All right, so I guess I'll take a stab on it too regarding the use case of blockchain. A while ago, when I introduced myself, I actually made mention that I am a manager for a gaming build, and many people are wondering how is blockchain related to it, or what it has to do with blockchain. And my peer a while ago also mentioned about NFT. Mr. Mark Tan, he's back. Welcome back, bro. So
Thanks,
he made
bro.
mention of this NFT or the non-fund token. So maybe for beginners who are listening to us right now, this is something that is a bit, a bit hard for you to wrap around your head. But think of it as something that you can use to represent anything, not necessarily value. So, for example, imagine a token. If anyone here who's playing games on arcade, that's how I can put it in a simple way. It's similar to that. NFT can be that. It can be a lot of things, but when we put it at the gaming side, NFT on the gaming side of things like your passport or your identification to start playing a game. So that's how the non-fungible token side of things, of the cryptocurrency and blockchain technology works, and it's being applied right now to games, particularly play to earn games. So maybe you're wondering, what are these play to earn games and how does it work and what does it do? So it's simply like there's this game that you play. There are in-game assets that you need to actually start playing the game. A while ago, Mr. Vince, the CEO of HTML Coin, said that you can have like this characters or that character. The NFT can actually represent those characters. So as I was mentioning, now there's this phenomenon happening right now, and it's sweeping the market in storm. I ever heard about the game called Axie Infinity? In fact, in our country, it's so popular, and there was this. It's actually in the news. You can actually check it out in Cointelegraph that there's this one gamer who actually was able to buy not just a house but two houses out of out of the in-game profits that he earned while playing this game called Axie Infinity. Now, we're not here to promote simply Axie Infinity. We're just here to mention. I'm just here to actually share with you that there are such things or there are such applications available for people out there who wanted to explore their careers in blockchain. Now, if you actually wanted to start your career on gaming or playing play to earn model inside the blockchain space, there are ways that you can actually do it. One, you get the money or you find the money to start buying or start acquiring this type of asset and start playing the game. Or there's this phenomenon in the gaming model, particularly in Axie Infinity, that's happening right now, wherein there's a relationship between a manager just like myself and some what we call players or scholars that we manage. So how does this work? How does the symbiosis work? Well, it simply work in a way that if, for example, I am the manager, I'll be the one in charge of acquiring the assets, managing all of those assets, while I assign to players those assets and they play the game. And at the end of the day, or at the end of any term agreed between manager and the player, you split the profits between the two of you. Now, there can be other
James,
factors. Yes, what's up? Go ahead.
James, wait a minute. Wait a
Yeah,
minute. Oh my goodness. I have so many questions. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're
yeah,
gonna
go ahead,
back
go ahead.
this up. He now y'all can tell he's passionate about this because he is getting into it.
Yep, yep.
So I'll let you finish your thought, but I don't want us to get too deep because we really need to talk about some of the terms you mentioned. And I know we need to go more into NFTs. We need to talk about the cryptocurrencies, just going back to some of the basics. So I'll let you finish your thought, but oh my goodness. Yes, we will have you back. Go for it, James. Finish your
Sure, sure.
thought.
So just as I was saying a while ago, this can happen in those ways. Now, yeah, it's been a practice. There are gamers playing the game, some managers. So there are careers that were developed inside this ecosystem, what we call it, or what? Yeah, and of course there are a lot of things that there are a lot of things that you can actually do in blockchain, and this is one side of it. There's a lot of things already in this one side. There are a lot of participants that can actually happen or can
Yes.
participate. I guess that will be all for now, then I'll proceed with my colleagues.
Don't
the
worry.
background.
You'll have time to explain more, and we'll get into more. So, okay, so James just opened up a whole can of worms. So let's just break this down. So let's start talking about it. So he mentioned when he first started talking about the gaming, and I know we're getting feedback. I'm not sure if it's from me or who. But then it
Hi.
went away when I said something. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. So what I want to do is let's talk about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. So let's start there, because then he also mentioned NFTs. So then we'll kind of move. But let's talk about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency and that connection. And because I know that people typically use the different terms, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and they kind of just confuse them all. Can you all help us with those terms and how they're all connected and what are they? So what is cryptocurrency? What is this you're talking about? We're using it in gaming. I'm not sure those that are gamers, they know because they have to use it. But for those of us who are new to this space, could you explain that a little bit and break down those connections between cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, other coins, and cryptocurrency in general? Just help us out.
I'll take a stab at that.
Okay.
So before answering that directly, and I'll try and be as concise as possible. We know that Bitcoin was the first successful digital currency, and that came about in 2010. But it's worth noting that there were numerous other digital currencies which came before Bitcoin. They obviously failed and didn't quite catch on. But I wanted to mention the rise of these digital currencies were born from recognition from society that our financial system is inherently flawed, with currencies that can be printed infinitely. It's created from debt, and the whole system is just rigged and flawed. So then on comes Bitcoin, and it starts to gain traction because people realize there's a limited supply. And yes, it's digital, but so is the money in your bank. Except Bitcoin, it's like I said, it's limited, but it brings an element of trust. Now, the technology behind Bitcoin being blockchain technology, people came to realize how it can be used and how it can be adapted on. Now, I won't say all cryptocurrencies are backed by blockchain, but the great majority are. There are a few which use similar but different technologies, like Ripple uses I think it's called a hash tree, if I remember correctly. And then there's Hedera Hashgraph. They use, I think you would call it a hash graph, but anyway, it's not blockchain, but it's similar. And it is also worth noting, blockchain technology is long past the tipping point of adoption. The world has come to recognize that it actually works. It does what it says on the box. And it's past the tipping point in terms of adoption. Cryptocurrencies, on the other hand, there is a lot of pushback and pullback from the regulators and the powers that be. And some of that apprehension from with the adoption of cryptocurrencies is quite valid, and other parts of it less so. And not to go in too deep into either of those things, but just to briefly, there's a lot of the central banks which are concerned about losing power and control. If the masses had to adopt cryptocurrencies, well, then they lose control, and then they lose a lot of that power they have over us. But then again, also there are a lot of clever bastards out there which use beautiful things to hurt others, or to scam people. They use blockchain. It has all this beautiful potential, and it's true, it's legit. But there are people out there that will package it, wrap it up on a fancy website, make all sorts of promises, and scam the innocent. So there is still a lot of self-education that's needed in the space, so that people can recognize that, okay, it's got blockchain, but that doesn't mean that it's perfect. And you've got to check the team behind it, what they're doing with it. So there are a lot of questions, but it's all very exciting.
I want to jump in here as well. And so I speak on this subject a lot. to try to help people understand the difference, because there are a lot of terms that get conflated. It gets kind of like mushed together, and no one really knows what's what, right? So you have Bitcoin, which is the granddaddy of all coins, as Vince said. But then you have something that's called altcoins. So it's going to be alternative to Bitcoin. So everything that's not Bitcoin is going to be called a altcoin. And roughly there's about 18,000 cryptocurrencies out there. And one of the things that makes it different when we start talking about, well, what's the difference? Because people say Bitcoin, blockchain, and they think that the terms are interchangeable, but they're not. Blockchain is going to be the infrastructure, and then cryptocurrency is going to be things that ride on top of it. So I like to give the example of a train tracks and a train, right? You can have one without the other, but you can't have one without the other, if that makes sense, right? So you can have a lot of train tracks, so you don't necessarily need a train, right? So we can actually have blockchain use cases in a lot of different capacities, but it doesn't necessarily have to involve cryptocurrency. But because you have cryptocurrency, you have to have a blockchain, right? So you can have one without the other, but you can't have one without the other. So it kind of makes it easier.
All right. Let me add to that. So, with regards to the blockchain is actually the technology that powers Bitcoin. Ever heard of that? This is actually what Brandon said, the infrastructure. So, blockchain, let's put it in a more practical way. Like most of the people now is familiar with the internet. And we know for a fact the internet is the technology that powers your email or your social media. Now, the email is the application, or yeah, one of the applications that you can use using the internet technology, while cryptocurrency is one of the applications that you can actually use in terms of blockchain technology. So similarly, that's the parallelism that we can use. There are other applications we mentioned a while ago about the games and everything, but we will deal more about that. Before that, let me just dig it further. That blockchain is the technology, while cryptocurrency is the application. Currency includes, yeah, the mother of all coin, Bitcoin, and the 18,000 alternative coins that was made mention by Fred Brandon a while ago. So yeah, that's it for me. So I hope that helps our viewers to understand further.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go next. Just to add on. Oh, sorry. Oh, just to add on. Just to kind of like simplify it for everyone else. So when we say blockchain, of course, it's been mentioned it is a technology. However, think of it kind of like a pyramid. You have blockchain on top. Okay, you have like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Althash. Again, these are just technologies. Yeah, but these technologies are governed by a set of rules, and those rules is what we call the consensus mechanism. Now, there's several types of consensus mechanisms. You have proof of work, which is basically Bitcoin. Ethereum uses that. EOS does proof of stake. Solana does proof of stake. And then you have proof of authority, which is something like Binance Smart Chain, what they use. Now, again, these set of rules is what governs that blockchain. Now, within each blockchain, they have cryptocurrencies. Okay, now these cryptocurrencies, they represent a small ownership of that blockchain. One of the things that I remember from my training back in the days when I was still with EOS is that every cryptocurrency represents some kind of ownership value, either whether it be financial, but there's a technical side to it where if you own, let's say, a half or a small portion of Bitcoin, technically you have some sort of ownership. You can apply that to any blockchain nowadays, like Solana, Ethereum, and so on and so forth, because a lot of these blockchains now are introducing new concepts such as like voting rights with the introduction of the DAO, the decentralized autonomous organizations, and your token can represent your vote, let's say in some particular I guess thing that they want to promote for that particular blockchain. The other thing is when we talk about things like Ethereum, having an Ethereum, or not just one full Ethereum, but maybe a fraction of an Ethereum, that ownership value, what it gives is that it gives the ability for users who own Ethereum to, let's say, write smart contracts, to buy up things, to vote. And there's many things that these cryptocurrencies now represent. A decade ago, it used to be just the financial aspect. If you own one Ethereum, you're up $100 in your in your portfolio. But now you can do a lot of things. So again, blockchain is a technology, and every blockchain has their own set of rules, which is the consensus mechanism. And then in each other blockchain, or all the other blockchains out there are the cryptocurrencies, which represent your ability to do something on that chain. So hopefully that makes sense to a lot of people.
Yes, I'm a true believer that, everybody explains it differently. And so everybody hears it differently. So I'm sure everything that you've added adds value. So thank you so much. So, okay. So we're moving right along. Like, y'all, this is a great conversation. So those of you who are joining us, please say hello. I know we have some people in the audience joining us. I saw Maria here. I saw Lucy here. And yes, so I'm going to take a slight diversion because I'm going to talk about Luis's comment about HTML coin. So since that's one of our sponsors, Vince, could you tell us a little bit about that in relationship to this conversation about blockchain and cryptocurrency? Tell us just a little bit, a couple of sentences about HTML coin.
Okay, just briefly. Well, HTML coin is actually one of the older coins in the list. It started in 2014 as a simple Bitcoin clone, and in late 2017 we became a hybrid smart contract blockchain. And we never had an ICO. We've never had one, so it's very community driven. The team are made up of community members. I mean, I was a community member, and then I joined as a moderator, and I stuck with it. And we develop blockchain. We do a few things. We are developing our core blockchain infrastructure and platform so that it makes it more inviting for third parties to come and build on our blockchain, as opposed to Ethereum, which has really high gas fees, and we are ridiculously cheap and much faster. But we also have a load of other side projects where we are using blockchain technology in various use cases. I mean, we've got our own NFT platform, which we launched last year, which has various unique selling points. And lastly, we have Credence Hub, which is coming out soon, which has to do with the issuance and verification of credentials. So we're just doing what we can with blockchain technology to make a difference. And it's a long-term aspiration for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I see we have someone else joining us. So Rexel, could you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do? Maybe not. Did I scare him off?
Hey guys. Wait, I'll just turn off my camera.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I need to get close to the mic. So I'm Rexel. I work for T Capital Coin as a researcher. Before starting with cryptocurrencies, I've been working as a researcher for the London School of Management back when I was college, and then had a 2-year stint with them back there. And then, I do think that we're in our defining moment in the emergence of new technologies. And there's a lot of things that we should look forward to. The NFTs, the sales of NFTs, the sales of Metaverse lands are only just the start. The big things that are coming is, I think, we're going to be seeing that when we see its application on the e-commerce, on the small business industry, and how it can impact the lives, especially in small transactions. I do think that's where the biggest the biggest market is. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. So, okay, look, y'all, we haven't even talked about NFTs. We haven't talked about Metaverse. Oh my goodness. So we're just going to run through this, and I want to really get into what you do, and the different things that you do in this space, and kind of go into that. That's really, the goal of this broadcast is to get there. So let's just kind of cruise through. Let's just do some terminology, and we're definitely going to come back to this topic. This has been a great discussion, and I'm trying to take notes and stay like with it. And not become too much of a student. So let's talk about NFTs, because I know James brought that up earlier. So let's talk about NFTs. What is an NFT, and how does that relate to this conversation we're having today about blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies? How does that work? What is it, and how does it work in a nutshell?
Yeah. Since I was alluded to by Dr. Tammy, I'll be running in first. So regarding the NFT, a while ago I mentioned that it actually is a representative, a token representing a value in an ecosystem. But in terms of its relationship with blockchain, it's actually one of those applications. So a while ago, when I explained blockchain and the application, similar to how the internet and the email as an application is, it's similar to that. Now there are other applications which are actually available for those practitioners, and NFT is one. NFT is where most of some of the decentralized applications are being developed into nowadays. Now, it's actually a token, a non-fungible token. Well, what's the difference between a fungible token and a non-fungible token? A fungible token is your cryptocurrencies, which was explained a while ago. Your non-fungible token, it's not necessarily monetary, but it's a token again that represents a value. So again, as mentioned earlier, if you're going to arcade, for example, and you're playing games there, you need a ticket to play that game. You need representative of that ticket. That's your token, and that's how NFT can work. Now, with the NFT games, the play to earn models, it's applicable that it's an in-game asset, as I mentioned. It's an in-game asset, can be a character. For the popular game that I mentioned a while ago, it's a character, a playable character. So your NFT represents a playable character. So that's NFT in the application itself, in itself as an application, and yeah. But maybe Sly would like to explain a little bit further about its technicalities or technology behind it.
Yes, he will. He will in just a moment. So anyone else want to jump in while Sly gets set up here? He's going to share something with us.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Awesome.
So NFTs, like James was saying, it is representative, right? So I like to kind of get into what fungibility is when to make it a lot easier for people to understand it, right? So the difference between so NFT stands for non-fungible token. So fungibility is going to be something that can be easily replaced, so or exchanged. So if I was to borrow $100 from you, I could give that back to you any way you want it, right? I can give two 50s, 10 10s, 5 20s, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can, as long as you get your $100 back, you're happy, or should be, unless you're charging me interest. But anyway,
107.
I know, right? But something that would be non-fungible would be something more like my car, right? If I loaned you my car, you would have to give me my car back. You couldn't give me a dump truck. You couldn't give me a skateboard. You couldn't give me anything else except for my car, because even my car key is an NFT, right? So I'm only able to use it there. So you want to make sure that you're understanding that the fungibility aspect is going to be something that can be utilized on the blockchain with a lot of different representations, whether it's going to be art, musical art, or digital art, any of those type of things, as well as so many different aspects of using NFTs, not just the digital art where we're seeing a lot of JPEGs and things of that sort, but also used with like real estate deeds and any of those type of things. There's so many aspects of NFT that is pretty much that's out there and hasn't really been looked at yet. So sky is the limit for NFTs.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sly. Are you ready?
Just give me about a couple more minutes. I'm just setting it up right now.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is move into, because I know our time is going short, because I think we've hinted on it a bit about some of the other terms. So what is Web3? What is Metaverse? Like, whoa, like where did that come from? What is it? And how is it connected to this conversation? Because I think we alluded to when we talked about email versus, and moving into other technologies. So I think we've kind of hinted on the shift between Web 2 and Web 3. But what is that? What is Web 3? And then the metaverse, how is that? So, okay. So wait, before we get into that. So that's going to be the next question. So we're going to let Sly share screen. Go for it. Maybe it'll make all this make sense.
Well, actually, here's the thing. What I want to discuss first is kind of like understanding what non-fungible tokens are. Everyone has their own definition, and that's correct. But let's look at non-fungible tokens in a way that represents your business. Now, you can choose anything, whether it be retails, shoes, shirts, merchandise, things like that. So what I'm about to show you is something that I've been working on for almost a year. But it's the idea that when we look at NFTs, we're thinking, oh, it's got to be just a picture. It's got to be something. But the thing is, how do we take NFTs outside of a 2D plane and put it into reality? Okay, so that's what I'm kind of working on, because one of the things that I do is I do NFTs. I do the whole front end thing. So this is one of the projects I'm working on, which is basically augmented reality. Okay, now what a lot of people do right now in the current space is basically they want to set up like storefronts, things like that. So this is what I have right now. This is kind of like, this is a testnet Solana basically storefront. And the idea is, when we talk about non-fungible tokens, we're also talking about the idea of marketing your project, your product. Okay, it's not so much that it's an art piece. Yeah, it's not just an art piece. It can be an art piece, but it also can represent something else. Now, what makes a metaverse, especially in the NFT space, is how you, the product, how you, the project, communicate that with your potential audience or your potential buyers. So for example, when I created the Sliderverse, my thing was, I don't want to keep everything on a 2D space. I want everything in augmented reality. I want it in the reality space. Yeah, so that is what my project represents. Okay, so that's how I kind of term or kind of showcase and how I want to communicate what my project is to my potential buyers or the audience. It's a marketing approach, to be honest, just using the technology. Okay, now to sum everything up for it to kind of like represent, to kind of explain what Web3 is. Web3, okay, Web3 is a technology that uses blockchain. Okay, you have to understand the derivation of what Web3 is. It came from Web 1, Web 2, and now we're in Web 3. Web 1 was basically, as people of the internet, we were just consuming information. Web 2 is now people participating in putting information out there for others to read, not just consuming it. Now, what Web 3 does is the transaction process of, the idea we call internet money. Okay, a couple of years ago, they called it internet money, but it's now called cryptocurrencies. Okay, so I'll stop sharing the screen now. Now, what Web 3 does nowadays, and that term was mentioned back in 2020, probably a little bit earlier. It's now that we have the technology where people can start going into cryptocurrency, to go into blockchain without the roadblock of, oh, I got to be a smart contract developer. Not exactly. A lot of the Web3 technologies nowadays, because I kind of use things like Third Web, Solana is really good for that too, where businesses that want to get into blockchain don't have to go through that roadblock. It's just that I want to create a storefront. I want to have people transact in cryptocurrencies. And all I have to do is connect my front end to this end point or to this whatever server. And that's it. Yes, it requires some knowledge in terms of like website development, but it's not that hard if you're already in that field. You don't have to mess with smart contracts nowadays. The smart contracts are all written up for you because these third-party providers, now I'm not saying all of them are great, but some of them actually really do a good job in terms of having people who want to go from traditional storefronts online, like like your eBays, things like that, and hosting your own to just connect to, let's say, the Ethereum blockchain to transact, or Solana or Bitcoin or Althash. So yeah, that's pretty much what everything is nowadays.
Yes. Woo. So, and I like how you connected that to the metaverse, which is where I was going before you shared your screen. So that's great. So let's talk about it. We talked about augmented reality. He mentioned that. He mentioned metaverse. He mentioned NFTs. So, yeah.
Well, I think when it comes to the metaverse, I think everyone will have their own definition, but it's really what your project represents and how you communicate that to your potential buyers, especially in the NFT space. So it's kind of like, yeah, defining what your project is and just communicating that out. So that's just my thing.
Let me just
Yeah.
add to that one what Sly mentioned for metaverse. Okay, so for our viewers or and audience benefit, well, there are things out there saying metaverse this and metaverse that, and probably heard it one way or another. And even the biggest platform in the social media changed their name into that thing. So yeah, that thing they call themselves that. So now, let's just dig deeper what the metaverse is. Just to remind everyone that there is no one metaverse. There's no such thing as one metaverse, as there's no such thing as there's one blockchain. I think we have to reiterate that there are several blockchains out there, and there's several metaverse out there. Now, blockchain was explained enough. Now let's dig deeper into what metaverse is. Metaverse, according to Sly, is how you relay your project or your product to the people. Now, let's take hold of that and look at it this way: that there's data needed for you to communicate your project or your product, and that data actually moves around your ecosystem, and it represents that each data represents something or a value. It can be monetary, non-monetary. And when you say metaverse, we're pertaining to a whole suite of a storyline or a storyboard, a sets of data that a participant can get into and participate and play a role. So that's how the metaverse. Now, as the project owner, that's like what Sly mentioned. For example, there is a shoe company who created their metaverse. Well, will not drop names, right? So there will be a company that made their metaverse, and they're a shoe company. What does their metaverse do? Their metaverse is actually a showroom of their product. A product like a shoe, for example. So they have that shoe metaverse wherein you can experience their product in 3D or in 2D or whatever rendition that they will do. So that's how metaverse works. Now, going back to the definition itself, it's a data set and it's a story. That's the reason why each metaverse has their own background, their own story, which is really to the participants, in which the participants have to play their part. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if that makes it, but yeah, anyone from my partners can also do it. So that's how basically a metaverse work. Doesn't necessarily mean it's supposedly blockchain though. Remember, it's that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a blockchain based though, but there are a lot of metaverse projects that are integrated into the blockchain technology. So with that, yeah, I hope it's able to make sense with those listening right now.
Anyone else?
I'd like to give a quick little thing. A lot of people out there have probably heard of the movie or seen Ready Player One. There have been a few movies which play on the metaverse concept. And the metaverse is basically virtual reality. And also connects to Web 3.0, relates to Web 3.0. And that's about, making reality more immersive. I mean, not reality, making the virtual world more immersive. It gives people the opportunity to almost live another life. They can be who they want to be, and they can, go into maybe a gaming metaverse and use NFTs in their in-game assets to have special power armors or special powers, be special characters. So there's a few movies out there like Ready Player One, and it gets a bit dark when you look at the potential dark tunnels that things can go down, how everyone are getting absorbed into technology. But, like the internet, it's a double-edged sword. There's pros and cons. We're going to have to be very careful as we proceed with this technology. It's very exciting, but we should be very cognizant of the negative possibilities that we might rope ourselves into in these metaverses and all of that.
Oh my goodness. So that's good. So I want to go around the room and well, you don't have to respond, but I'd like for each of you to respond to like really quick, like quick firing. If you had to give one tip for how to be safe in this space, because Vince mentioned about this the security aspect, and he hinted at that. So let's talk about. We want to definitely leave our viewers with some things to be mindful of while they're engaging in whatever aspect of this space that they choose to start in. So go. Just share one tip. Go for it, Vince.
Your identity. I mean, people need to be very careful with personal information, your name, your age, your location, because the bad guys out there will try and fish that information from you. I mean, maybe there's a child that's in the metaverse and they're not being very careful. And I think that's very important for people to realize when you're in the metaverse. You might meet a cuddly teddy bear, but behind that teddy bear character is some dodgy person in some country that's there to exploit you in some way. So be very careful with what information you share with random people online in general.
Yeah, that's you definitely touched on it there, Vince, man. That's security is number one in this space, right? I mean, if you go down social media now in Web 2, you just see all the bad things people are just giving out, all type of information they're giving out. So just multiply that by a lot more, because now you're in this Web3 space is going to be not easily as tracked as it was before in Web 2. So because you will have some type of decentralization involved. So it's not necessarily tied to centralized entities like a Facebook or Instagram, or, well, they're the same person now. Well, anyway, right? It's not necessarily tied to the same centralized platform. So yeah, security. Understand that. Take a small, cybersecurity or web security course that you can take, just so you can understand the hazards of being and sharing things online.
Sly, do you have a tip?
Yeah, I think what one of the tips that's always worked for me is the fact that you have to keep it in the back of your mind that blockchain is here. It's not going to go away, guys. It's just the fact that yeah, security is one, but my tip for everyone is um, treat it as an alternative means. It's blockchain won't replace everything that's out there right now, but always treat it like an alternative means. What you like, meaning don't quit your day job. You can use you can use blockchain as something to augment your financial status through cryptocurrency trading, investments, whatever, or to venture into a career that what you're already doing now, but you're just going to apply the blockchain aspect to it. So just think of it as an alternative means to what you really want to do,
All right.
at least with your life. That's all.
Thank you. James, you have a tip for safety and security in blockchain, NFT, Web3 gaming. I know that's your thing. A tip.
Yeah. For everything else, I think most of my colleagues and peers were able to cover. So, but I think one thing I can share to our people is that the best defense is offense. No, you don't attack other people as they attack you. You don't do bad things inside the blockchain or wherever or the internet. What I'm trying to say is to become offensive, you need to be armed with education. So I think that's one basic thing that we need. Everyone needs, even us who are already in the space. We need constant education. We need to educate ourselves. This is a fast-paced, fast-moving industry, and what new as of yesterday might be totally different a while ago, or 2 hours ago. So yeah, we constantly learn, relearn, and unlearn. That's how you become offensive. So again, the best defense is offense, and your offense, you are armed with your education. That's it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, James. All right. So that was a great segue into my last question. And so, talking about education, you know, we have been here almost an hour. It's gone by fast, so thank you for your time. But let's share a resource or resources that you would recommend for people to learn more, to find out more either about a certain area or topic that we've talked about, or in general. Just what would be a resource that you would share? Of course, besides yourselves. So I do want you to not only share a resource that they can kind of go to and watch, read, whatever, but I also want you to share who you are and what you do and how we can connect with you after this broadcast. So let's go with you. Let's start on my camera. We'll start with James. Let's go.
All right. So, yeah, I'm back. Thank you. So, regarding what I do, how you can contact me, we have a community in the Philippines. So, if there are Filipinos watching out there, you can check us out on Facebook. That would be the Resistance Trader community. It's the Resistance Trader, and it's a Facebook page. You can check us out. You can see this logo at my back on that page. And for other resources, if you wanted to do play to earn games, you can actually check out YouTube channels that are related to it particularly. Yeah, we also have our own YouTube channel, The Resistance Trader. And if you wanted to learn about NFT, it's highly recommended that you check out soon the website of my peer here, Mr. Sly. He will talk more about it later. So he has some library if you wanted to learn about NFT. But for the play to earn model, you can check out the website of Infinity also. That's that play to earn model. It's axieinfinity.com. And also about if you wanted to learn more about blockchain and cryptocurrency, well, might as well learn from it and enroll. Of course, we're also part of Altash University. You can check us out at altash.university. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So, and Doc Vince, I know we have a question on LinkedIn. So I don't know if we want to answer it today or we want to just have one of, yeah, it's long. It's long. So let's see if we can kind of get the gist, and maybe one of you can answer real briefly before we go on with other resources. So we're seeing many different blockchains being used. Some are using more environmentally friendly consensus mechanisms. For example, versus proof of work with that Ethereum is currently on. Ethereum is planning to change to POS, proof of stake, in the future, but that will take time. What is the viable of less known blockchains using more environmentally friendly consensus mechanisms? What should we be looking for? Maybe y'all got that. Anyone have a
Yeah,
thought, a suggestion,
yeah.
or what they
I
should
think
be
I
looking
think
for?
yeah. I think the question is if it is viable. So let me answer that one. Now for the record, yes, it is viable because he made mention of other consensus mechanisms in this mix of question that he has. He said proof of work. He said proof of stake. There are several other consensus mechanisms available there. Now, if what is the viability? So if it's viable or not for the less known blockchains to be using more environmentally friendly consensus mechanism, it is viable. Now, for what should we be looking for? Basically, energy consumption. So if you're gonna be asking me about what you should be looking for, check out how much energy that particular consensus mechanism assigned to that blockchain or pertinent to that blockchain is using. So now, but I also wanted to address this question in another aspect very quickly, just so you know, because I'm also into the environmental costing. I'm actually a member of the Green Party in my country. So, but I'm also into blockchain. So let me answer this straightforward. The issue of blockchain being green is not necessarily can be attributable to energy consumption, but it doesn't necessarily amount to that. What do I mean? For as long as the energy is sourced properly, meaning it's actually sourced green, it came from green energy and it's not coal, then the equation differs. Now it's different. So now what you should be looking for, I said a while ago, you're looking into consensus mechanism, is of course energy consumption. But aside from energy consumption, look at the community of this blockchain if they are actually driving or using green energy as well. So that's it. That's for me. That's what I believe in, and that's what I observe in. Also, coming from someone who is from a green party, so I'll let my peers talk more about their thoughts about it.
Go for it. Real
Okay,
quick.
cool.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, in terms of viability with lesser known blockchains, I think the one thing that we kind of have to look for is more on yeah, it's really community based with a lot of these blockchain projects right now, and it has to basically incorporate not just the developer side, but what people want that blockchain to do for the users. When here's something that I kind of here's something what I kind of learned when I was with EOS. EOS was like this grand slam of a blockchain. It was going to beat Ethereum, blah blah blah. But the problem was the developers and the investors of EOS kind of took control of the project, and the users when they voiced out their opinions on what EOS should have done, the project didn't listen to the users. So when we look at a blockchain project, especially the lesser known ones, it's that combination of the strength of the developers in that project and the users putting really good thought processes in it to make it a better blockchain. Without both of these ideas in a project, it's going to be lopsided, and usually things like that kind of don't work very well in the future, long term wise. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Fred and let him talk about a resource and what you do and how we can connect with you.
Sure. As I mentioned before, I am the executive director of the Flames Foundation. And what I have available is a free cybersecurity course. And you can go to the link, fbflamesfoundation.org/register. So this will get you that primer that I talked about earlier, to just so you understand what phishing is, you understand some of these basic concepts. As we start moving into different spaces, whether it's Web3, blockchain, and any of those other areas, it's very useful to have at least a basic knowledge of cybersecurity. So I do have a free course on that page. So fbflamesfoundation.org/register. If you can put that link up for me as well, I appreciate it. And you'll be able to register there for a free course. Thank you.
And there it is, scrolling across the bottom. So we'll leave it there for just a moment. And I don't know if you've gotten it, but some of you, if you're really like wanting to go back and review some of the things like blockchain and other things, he has a book too. I don't know if he mentioned this. I don't think he did. He mentioned courses, but you can also get his book, Adopting Blockchain and Cryptocurrency, which is great for beginners and for those into space or want to review and some of the things that we talked about today. Great option. All right. So Vince, we'll
Thank
go to
you.
you. You're welcome.
So very briefly, in terms of a resource and to get behind what James said, arming yourself with education, althash.university. We've been teaching blockchain there for free for the past 3 years. I think it's been monetized this year. But it's very important for people to educate themselves because ignorance is not bliss. And there's so much potential, not only for you to grow, but there's also a lot of risk which needs to be mitigated. So when it comes to education, you need to do it. And that's althash.university. And for me personally, my passion is to leverage on innovative solutions and human relations to create win-wins. So for me, it's an absolute pleasure to connect with other industry professionals. I will put a comment on the video on LinkedIn. If anyone does want to connect with me, they can do so. They can find me on LinkedIn. Thank you, Dr. Tammy.
Perfect. You're welcome, Vince. So we will be putting some, and I'll have them, they can definitely add some comments on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever they feel to share some of this. So Sly, we're going to go to you.
Is it okay if I can go last for this one? James, if you want to go first? Is that okay?
James already went. James went
Oh,
first.
okay,
I'm
cool.
done, bro.
Okay, how about this?
You are last.
Okay, I am last. All right. I'm just gonna send two links. One is basically my my website, and then the other one is the resource that I use. So in terms of how to get in contact with me, basically I do have a website called sliderverse.com. What this is actually my own personal project. I'm not really trying to sell anything, but what I'm trying to show is that there's a lot of questions in terms of the whole NFT thing, and people don't know where to go. So it's kind of like, this is like my project to kind of explain the NFT processes and what people can do with what they already have in terms of skill to kind of like promote their own. Although it does showcase some of my work as well, but it's kind of like the idea that I'm trying to present and trying to communicate with my audience. Now, the next resource that I kind of want to provide everyone is, other than is basically Morales Academy. The Morales Academy basically is something that it was previously named Ivan on Tech, but this website really saved my career in terms of blockchain back in early 2009, and explained a lot. And a lot of the things that I use for a lot of my projects use Morales, because think of it kind of like AWS, but for blockchain. And when you understand how they work, it makes the idea of Web3 come alive. So yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for taking a huge chunk out of your day to hang out with us. We will definitely be in touch and have you back to share more. I definitely appreciate you. And oh, okay. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. Definitely follow these gentlemen, connect with them, learn more, because they're always doing things, even on their own platforms in this space where you can actually hear more, learn more, get more in depth, ask more questions, and all of that. Doc Vince, you ready to go? Yay!
Hey, I mean, well, I just would like to thank everyone for being here and see you on the next episode. And again, thank you so much for giving your time, valuable time, and all the knowledge, because I know we learned a lot, especially for all the viewers. And after this, I would like to ask all your links so that on the description box, we could add them up so that most of our viewers would be able to reach out. So congratulations, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tammy. Back to you before. Back to you. Go ahead.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. This is another episode of Blockchain Talk, and we'll be back next Friday for another episode of Blockchain Tech. So join us here, same time, same channel, and make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment. Make sure you share this out to your friends so they can really learn more about this space. Doc Vince, can we maybe share our sponsors on our way out?
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See y'all soon.
This blockchain continuing education program is brought to you by our major sponsors: HTML Coin, Utility Coin Beyond the Hype; Utash University, your online school in the fourth industrial revolution; Libra Codes, take control on your NFT creation; and Credence Hub, verified credentials, anytime, anywhere. We also would like to thank our partners: